Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast today. So I'm going to be talking about color and light therapy. This is a very popular topic. I get a lot of questions about light therapy, and this is part of a presentation that I gave recently to a group of practitioners in our practitioner training. If you're interested in joining us, you can send me an email at appointments@drsamberne.com. Enjoy the show, everybody. So light and color therapy is something I use a lot in my practice. I use it with elders. We're using a lot of red light to help people with eye disease. And I'm actually combining that with a supplement called methylene blue, which is a supplement that does the same thing as red light therapy, which increases the mitochondria. And I have a lady right now who's got a dry macular degeneration, and we've been doing the combination of methylene blue supplement, and one drop, she drinks it. 30 minutes later, she does the red light therapy, and she's noticing that she's seeing things more clearly. So light therapy is something that I've used for over 40 years. I remember my first case was somebody who had macular degeneration, and I treated her with color therapy, and she was able to get her daylight driver's license back. In the clinic that I work with in Kid Power, we use the color gels. I'm going to send you those. And these are the different colors, and I use a flashlight, and I shine the light through the color gel, and it's a way we can work with tracking. It's a way we can work with relaxation. And I'm going to show you all the tricks today of how you can use light and color as a tool to help you in your functional vision therapy program. So,
is it not done how it used to be, where we had that
it's not done. I'm doing it in a much easier way for people. So much easier way. So we'll just continue. So our receptivity to the visible color spectrum. This increases our ability not only to see things more clearly, so we're healing our eyesight, but it also improves our information processing, the vision to the brain. And some other secondary things that light and color therapy can do is it can change your heart rate, it can change your breathing, and it can change your body sensations. So light therapy can do a lot of great things systemically, metabolically, energetically, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, and physically. So the beginnings of color therapy started with the Egyptians, the Romans, the Greeks, and the Chinese. And they used to use color therapy as a way to heal and balance the body. In recent times, color therapy has helped conditions like seasonal affective disorder, depression, anxiety, and it helps in detoxification. It's also been used in acupuncture, something called color puncture, where you can actually take the pen light and put it on different acupuncture meridians. So color therapy is used by a lot of different practitioners, a lot of different ways to do it. Color therapy has both biological and physiological effects on improving our eyes, reducing pain, improving mental health, reducing inflammation, and it can also help us with our concentration, our alertness, our memory, our reaction time, our mood, and it also can create more relaxation. So a question I get a lot is, what is light? What is light? Well, David Bohm, who is a theoretical physicist, and I'm quoting him, Dr. Bohm said, light is energy, and it's also information, content, form, and structure. It's the potential of everything. And one of my teachers, Dr. Fritz Albert Popp, he talked a lot about photonic energy. And what he said was, and I'm quoting Dr. Popp, when a cell is in optimal health, it responds to all the colors of the visible spectrum. I actually have a camera called a GDV camera that measures the photonic energy that comes off the body. And I've done a variety of different research studies seeing how different treatment modalities affect the light body, our energy fields, our chakras, and our acupuncture meridians. So light is made up of photons. I could show you a picture of a person where I'm just looking at their photonic energy, and you'd see them as like a light bulb. And so we're all made of light, and just like plants need sunlight, we need light as well. And the term I use is heliocentric. We go towards the light. That's what plants do. And there's all this conversation that we should avoid sunlight. We need to avoid light because of this, that, and the other. And that's not true. We actually need morning light as a way to balance our circadian rhythms and help our mood and do some other things. Part of what light does is it stimulates a gland in the body called the pineal gland. This is the master gland of the body. And the pineal entrains the pituitary, the thyroid, the thymus, the pancreas, the gonads, and the adrenals to increase and improve. Light also stimulates the mitochondria. This is the red light that we talk about, and the studies that were done by the Jeffrey Lab, how red light increases mitochondria function, and this can actually reverse aging either in the eye or in the body. So light helps us with physical movement. It helps us with being able to balance our nervous system, because part of the light that enters us enters through the eyes, and it enters through what we call the pupil. So the pupil is the black part of the center part of the eye inside the iris that regulates how much light that gets in. For example, if you were to go outside right now, the middle of the day, your pupil would get smaller. If you were to come back inside and you were in a dark room, the pupil would widen, it would dilate. So depending on our amount of light that we're being exposed to, this affects how much light gets into the body. Now, one of the instruments I have is something called a GDV camera. This is a camera that measures the energy fields by having you place each of your fingertips one at a time on the camera. And you get a picture of each of the fingertips, and then through some software, it converts these fingertip readings to a whole body energy field, chakra alignment, and acupuncture meridians. So in like 2014, 2015, when I was a teacher at the Esalen Institute, I used to run month-long programs there. And we did a color therapy study for the month where I had 20 subjects in my class, and I treated them with the rainbow color method daily. So they looked at each color for 2 minutes. We did this daily. And we did it we did the color therapy twice a day for 7 days. And the length of each session, each subject looked through each color for 2 minutes. And the main colors we used were red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So initially, before we started, I measured each person's energy fields, acupuncture meridians, and chakras. And on day 8, I remeasured the subjects. And overall, the people increased their energy field illumination area and chakra alignment by 80%. So when we treat with light and color, we are filling up our light body, and the light body is really our first line of defense in terms of our immune health. When we start developing disease, the first place we start to see people have difficulty is in the auric field, the energy around the body. And so we can look at a person before, and then we can look at the person after, and you can see that the holes in the energy fields are gone, that there's more coherence. And so this is very profound to know that we can actually fill up our body with light, and it can have an effect on our immune system, our vision, our health. And so when the chakras, we did the chakra measurement, when the chakras are not aligned, the energy gets disrupted, and this creates disease. Again, after we did the light therapy sessions, the chakras can get much bigger and they're much more aligned, and so then the person is more aligned. And if we bring in, Ayurvedic medicine and yoga, we know the value of chakras and how they work together. There's 7 main chakras. Some say there are even more, which there are. But the chakras can be influenced by just using light and color therapy on the eyes. It takes about 40 minutes of looking at different colors for the blood in the eyes to circulate through the entire body. So once the blood receives the light in the eyes, it's transported throughout the entire body, which is very exciting to know that the eyes are basically one of the biggest windows where light gets into the body. So in our rainbow color practice, what you do is you pretend like you're in a colored dome, okay? That's one way to think about it. We also have colored gels. I also have light machines. And what you're doing is you're either visualizing or you're actually looking at the color, or you're looking through the glasses or the gel, and the color starts to fill you up. The color starts to have an influence, and the longer you do it, the longer the color is able to stay. And one of my teachers, Dr. Hazel Parcells, Dr. Parcells was a naturopath and a chiropractor. I met her when she was 103 years old, and she was just starting a retreat center in northern New Mexico. And so I studied with her for 3 years. She was a master at working with light and color and energy and holistic healing and functional nutrition. One of the things she used to say is that if you want to clean up, the disease in the body, you increase the inner light. And one of the ways she used to do that is applying light and color therapy on the blood. And it was pretty incredible talking to some of her students how much the light therapy would impact them. So when we do the rainbow color, what we're doing is we're starting with the red. We have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So let's talk about the color spectrum. And we're just going to stay with visible light. Green is the center of the color spectrum. So the red end of the spectrum is going to stimulate what we call our sympathetic nervous system. Our sympathetic nervous system is our active state. It's our fight, flight, freeze. It's also the first chakra, which is related to rooting, survival, and it's very stimulating. The second color we use is orange. Orange is a color that helps us with, it's our second chakra, our sacral chakra. Some call it the sexual chakra. It's related to our passion, our how well we're able to connect to ourselves in terms of our creativity. Chakra number 3, the color that we use is yellow. So yellow is still very stimulating, and sometimes we'll combine yellow and green as a way to balance, say, our liver. Or if we want a mild stimulating situation, we'll do yellow-green. Now, once we get to green, green is the heart chakra, the heart center, and the heart is kind of the fulcrum between the lower 3 chakras and the upper 3 chakras. And a lot of people, when they look at a certain color, they might say, oh, I love that color, or I hate that color, or that color is very neutral. And one of the things we've learned over the years is the colors that we don't like are the ones that give us the deepest balance. Now, again, let's say we look at red and we go, this is very uncomfortable, I don't like it. So what we might do with it is we might say, okay, look at the color either with your eyes closed, because the eyelids are like window blinds. You're still getting the light into the eyes, but at a much slower rate. So it's going to slow down the reactivity. Or you can use the red, with eyes open, but just do it for maybe 30 seconds, and each day you can build up to it. So red, orange, yellow tend to be very stimulating. Green is balancing. Now when we move to the blue-green and the blue and the violet, these colors help us relax. And the colors that are farthest away from the middle are the colors that are going to give us the most effect. So red and violet are going to be stronger in their stimulation than, say, blue-green or yellow-green. They're not going to be, those two sets of colors aren't going to be quite as intense. And, you know, many years ago when I was studying light and color therapy, we would get prescriptions where we would say, okay, let's do 10 minutes of yellow-green and 10 minutes of red-purple, just as an example. Or let's do 10 minutes of blue-green followed by 10 minutes of blue-purple. And you can still do those things. That's great. And in our advanced light therapy, we'll talk about when you might use yellow-green and then when you might use red-purple or blue-green and blue-purple. We'll talk about those applications in a few minutes. But the point of it is that when you're using color therapy on your clients, to tune in on, you know, where they are at. And with most of these, especially in the kids, they're usually pretty stressed out. They're usually pretty tight. They might have anxiety. They might be hyperactive. They might be poor at focusing. So at that point, you can experiment with a flashlight, taking the colored gel, shining the flashlight through the colored gel so it's projecting on them. They can either be sitting or standing. They can be doing a vestibular activity. And you can also do a tracking exercise where you can say, look at the color, follow the color, touch the color. And what I find is that sometimes I'll need to experiment by asking them, okay, here's yellow-green. What do you think of this color? What's it remind you of? And it's always great when you're doing the color therapy, especially with the kids, to ask them, what does this color remind you of? Because that gets them thinking about how they can associate their life with the color. Oh, the blue-green reminds me of the sunset, just as an example. Or the yellow-green reminds me of, you know, my grandmother's house. So, you know, you can talk with them while they're looking at the color, and you can move the flashlight around so you're working with their tracking and their ocular motor. You can even use proprioception where they can be touching the color as you're moving it. So sometimes based on the session, I might either do the color therapy at the beginning of the session. Let's say they're having difficulty settling down. So let's go through the combination of colors and why I would use them. So red and purple tend to, because they're both ends of the spectrum, tend to work on relaxing us, but relaxing us in a gentle way because it's both ends of the spectrum. I call it the adrenal light combination, meaning that if they're in a very active state, if I start using the red-purple, it grabs their attention, but at the same time, because of the purple, that's going to start softening and relaxing them. But the red kind of gets in the way in a good situation where it creates this relaxation, but it's not too intense. So that would be a time when I might use the red-purple. Now on the yellow-green, I tend to use those a lot with the spectrum disorder kids. So we talk about ADD on one end, we talk about ADHD on the other end, autism, Asperger's. So when we're working with the spectrum disorders, I find that the yellow-green is good because it gives them something that they're attending to. It's like the yellow is stimulating them, but the green is balancing. So it isn't just the yellow, which is going to be very bright for them, but using the yellow-green is a good way to go. And again, my experience has been you do maybe 2 to 3 minutes and then you change the colors up. So if you have a spectrum disorder child and you want to kind of jump in and see, okay, how are they going to do with the yellow-green? That would be a good situation. All right. Now, let's say that we're working towards the end of the session and you want to kind of just chill them out, total relaxation. Then I would probably give them the blue-green color. That's very nice, but it's not overstimulating. And if they like that, then the second set of colors I would use would be the blue-purple. Now, blue-purple works really well at reducing inflammation and pain. It really is a kind of a relaxant, a pretty strong relaxant. And with some kids, they need that. They need that level of pretty deep relaxation, especially if you've been working them hard and they need time out. So again, you can play with how far you can go with them. Usually in the color therapy session with kids, I'll do 2 to 3 minutes with each pair of colors. So, you've got the red purple, you've got the yellow green, you've got the blue green, and you've got the blue purple. Now, we haven't talked about the rainbow of colors, so I want to go back and do that. And I also want to bring in the eye patch. So in the rainbow, what we do is we give all the colors one at a time, and either we can do it through a flashlight where you're projecting the color onto the person, or they actually take the colored gel and they hold it right up to their eyes, which is really incredible. If I had my blue gel here and I was looking through it, everything would look blue out there, but I would start to notice that my eyes are relaxing and my brain is relaxing. And so the blue is kind of like, this is calming me down. And so when we do the rainbow, we start with the red, then we go to the orange. We're changing it up about every 2 to 3 minutes. And we're asking the question, what color do you see? And how does it make you feel? And then we're just listening to the responses. And we're noting the colors that the person, what they don't like, are the ones that eventually we're going to revisit and give them, because if we're not able to like all the colors, if there's certain colors we don't like, color represents a vibration, and a vibration represents an experience. And so when we are uncomfortable with certain experiences, which are vibrations, the color therapy is a great way to eventually help you desensitize yourself from that reaction. And then that turns into like the color you didn't like, let's say it's red, is the color like, give me more, I want more red. So that's where doing the rainbow color every day and working with this idea of getting the person to become desensitized works really, really well. Now, sometimes when we're doing the rainbow, we'll actually patch the left eye and we'll just do the rainbow through the right eye. Now that's pretty profound, because now your right eye is only getting it. And let's talk about what the right eye is. The right eye represents our left brain. It represents our analytical, our detail, our very specific practical ways of being in the world. It's also a representation of the genetics that we get from our father, our grandfather, our great-grandfather. So it's the father side of the body. The eyes reveal a lot of connections in the body. This is what iridology is. Iridology is the science of reading the iris and seeing what the map is of the iris through the patterns, and we can find out what the genetic connections are to our ancestors, our grandparents and great-grandparents. So it gives us indications on maybe health nurture points. And then the other thing that the iris does is it actually shows us in great detail what systemic and metabolic things we might need to support. It also can show us on a spiritual level different aspects of our personality. Some people that are very detail-oriented, some people who love harmony, some people who are introverts, some people who are extroverts. So the iris tells us a lot of things on the physical, emotional, and spiritual levels. So now let's move to the left eye. Let's say on the second day we cover the right eye and we're doing color therapy on the left eye. So the left eye represents our right brain, our intuitive, our creative, our gestalt, being able to see the big picture. And we want to have both. We want to be balanced. Now, when we're born, there is a tendency or a preference that we're more right-brained or we're more left-brained. And it's good to know what this is, because this is going to help us determine, partnership. It's going to help us in school and what decisions we might make in terms of our job or occupation. So knowing what our tendencies are around right brain, left brain, and so on can be very helpful in knowing what that is. And there's certain ways that you can do that, which we'll get into at a later lecture. But when we're working with the left eye, that is our creative side. That's our intuitive side. And so the issues around when we're looking through the color therapy just with the left eye, it may bring up issues around our creativity and our intuition. It's also the part of the mother. The left eye is the mother eye. It's the connection to our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers. So it's interesting how the right eye is the father and the left eye is the mother. And a lot of times when we're kids, we look at our parents' relationship and maybe there's some problems there. And what do we do as kids? We absorb. We just absorb, we internalize through our eyes. And then as we get older, our eyes change to adapt to what we're seeing in terms of our parents' relationship. A lot of times when I'm evaluating a kid, I can look at their eyes and their eye patterns, and I can tell exactly what's going on in the marital dynamics of the parents. Because what do we do as kids? We internalize, okay? And by internalizing it, we don't necessarily have a place to express it. So it starts getting stored in our videotape library. And this is where things like energy healing, like the color therapy, is a way to release that stuff, okay? And it may be as simple as, I'm going to spend 2 to 3 minutes in my session with my client doing a little color therapy. It doesn't need to be a lot. It doesn't need to be 20 minutes a day. It's something that light therapy can be very helpful in opening up our vision, opening up our brain, relaxing our nervous system, bringing more insights into what our vision is about. And this is especially with adults. But with kids, just using it as a tool, color is a language they understand. They're attracted to it. They're going to attend to it. And especially if you're using different light sources. Sometimes I'll use a big flashlight. Sometimes I'll use a pen light. Sometimes the light is very bright in the room. Sometimes the light is very dark in the room. Sometimes it's moderate, so that I'm changing the conditions while I'm having them look at the color. Now, one last point about color and light therapy. It's what we call adaptogenic. Adaptogenic means that when we give the body something, the body says, I want to use this medicine as a way to heal myself, to balance myself. This happens all the time in essential oils. If I were to give 10 people essential oils, I might have 10 different responses based on what they need. So lavender and essential oils are what we call adaptogenic. They adapt to what the body needs to bring back into balance. Well, light therapy is like that as well. I can give yellow to 10 different people and I'll get 10 different responses. And it's so interesting, based on what they're bringing to their situation, that's exactly what they need to come into balance. It's a very different model than, say, pharmaceutical drugs. Oh, I've got a pain. Let me take this ibuprofen and it will reduce inflammation and get rid of the pain. It's very fix it. Here's the problem. Here's the solution. Now, a lot of times when we're doing more of the allopathic things, it's very linear, where it's fixing a symptom, but it might be driving the problem further in. When you do light and color therapy, you are treating the cause. You are treating the imbalance, the disharmony. And so in that process of regaining harmony, you might go through a detoxification process. You might go through a period where your body is like, oh, this is really hard. This is, emotional. I might be getting some skin responses. We're getting discharge. eczema, psoriasis. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can occur when you're giving these kinds of so-called natural remedies. And it happens in a lot of different modalities: homeopathy, herbal, essential oils, color and light therapy, Reiki, acupuncture. A lot of times these modalities will bring out what's been hidden, and it creates a deeper balance. So I'm going to end with this. In color and light therapy, it's a very potent modality, and it should be used very respectfully. And each person is different in what their reaction and response is. So when you start using it, start slowly, start easily. Ask the person what's their favorite color. Maybe give them that one. And let them get used to the effects of this energy into their eyes, which is going to travel throughout their entire body. And one last point I'm going to leave you with: you don't need light machines and colored gels. All you need to do is go outside and get the natural light. Go out at sunrise, you're going to see a whole set of colors. Go out at sunset, you're going to see a whole different round of colors. We have the colors in our natural environment. See what colors you're drawn to. See what colors you don't like. Maybe the colors you don't like, get a piece of clothing and wear that, or cook with it. Again, we get the rainbow in our diet with different vegetables and fruits. That's another way to see it. So light is a food. It affects our endocrine system, our nervous system, and our vision. And give it a try. It is really, really potent stuff.